Welcome in D&D and Warhammer fans. This is the beginning build for a strategic half-high elf necromancer, aka the Death Queen build. This will spread fear to the living and give you advantage and of course command over all undead forces in game. The class you'll choose is the Wizard, eventually picking the Necromancy subclass as you level up. To also fit the theme, you will choose the Acolyte background as a worshipper of the gods of death. Specifically, the Wizard's got an incredible amount of potential with this build to go in the direction of damage and also battlefield control with summon units. As a side note, your main skills of proficiency will be Investigation and Religion, which are skills that rely on your intelligence modifier greatly and really fit into the roleplay of you as a Necromancer Acolyte, understanding the worship of death and inquiring for more knowledge over the control of life itself. As a quick side note, this will be your stat point distribution for all of your abilities. Specifically speaking, your main ability dumps will be into intelligence and dexterity, mainly because, well, intelligence, you'll need all the spells that you can get, and also dexterity will help you with the AC, the dodging, a little bit of extra chance to avoid any kind of damage coming your way. You don't want to really be someone who's going to be taking a lot of hits, and also Constitution is going to be 14, so that's going to give you a little bit of survivability in the health department. Wisdom and Charisma you will be leaving alone, just for like those will saves, and also to make certain dialogue checks easier too. Strength you're going to take points away from because, well, you'll be relying mostly on all of your spells and also summoning your minions too. The race for this build will be a high half-elf, specifically for that sweet extra cantrip, which you will choose the Necromantic Touch cantrip. On top of damage, it prevents enemies from actually making heals, and also making undead have disadvantage on their next subsequent attack against you, or the rest of the party. As for the rest of the cantrips to fit the theme of the build, and also to help you out in battle, you will pick up Poison Spray to punish enemies who dare get up and personal with you. Blade Ward will come in handy to half the incoming damage from all bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing attacks, which at the start of the campaign could literally mean life or death. And Minor Illusion will cause distractions to enemies, but also you could roleplay it as you summoning a temporary ghost to draw attention from enemies and to serve as your little pawn for a time. Again, picking things to fit the theme for roleplay, but also being useful. Your selected spells will be False Life to gain temporary hit points and to provide you with a saving grace. Not necessarily making you tanky, but also providing you with more of a chance to take a hit and keep swinging, or casting, in your case. Color Spray will also be one of your utility spells, again helping you in tight situations if enemies do close the distance with you, blinding them and providing you some time to either make a follow-up cast attack or make a getaway, maybe a combination of both. Roleplay this as spraying grave ashes in the face of your enemies if you really want to get that morbid. Magic Missile, of course, is a go-to wizard spell, which attacks will never miss, and guarantees you at least will damage an enemy. You could roleplay this also as Wind of Death from Total War Warhammer for all of those fans out there, as you're literally quickening the unaliving of your enemies. Mage Armor for even more tanking potential is there too as a spell, if at least buying you more time or chance to avoid attacks. Roleplay this as simple Bone Armor if you really want. Ray of Sickness is a pretty good spell to have as well, to roleplay poisoning your enemies and also making that quick getaway. Fun fact too, this could definitely play into the role of a Nurgle worshipper if you really want to go that route too, as in spreading the gift of death and disease to all of your enemies. And last, but certainly not least, Sleep, to shut down your enemies and to take the fighting potential away by roleplaying this as quote-unquote false death, temporarily taking their life away, incapacitating them, while you deal with more pressing and more challenging enemies. And listed here, these are my prepared spells, but in your own personal playthrough, go ahead and choose, pick which ones that you'll be using given a specific situation too. Now, one of my other favorite parts is naming our character, which in this playthrough and also in future live streams on my YouTube channel, we'll name her Neferata. One of the first vampire queens in the Warhammer Fantasy universe, Neferata translates to Beautiful Death in ancient Nehekaren. She was a former vampire queen of the lost ancient desert city of Lamia, first of the vampires and leader of the vampiric bloodline known as the Lamian Sisterhood. Just like her namesake, our Death Queen will use her necromantic powers to further her ambitions in the story and wreak absolute terror on the battlefield. Let me know in the comments your personal favorite builds and characters that you've made so far or plan on making in the future too. If you love talking shop about all things D&D, Baldur's Gate, Warhammer, or Elder Scrolls, I'd love to have you join us on our next adventure, friends. And be sure to remember to hit that like and subscribe and bell icon notifications for more great D&D content in the future.